which is on the Life is Tough, but You Can Be Tougher network. Welcome back, everyone, to this episode of Scientifically Beautiful. I'm Dr. Christina Rahm, and I'm very happy and pleased today and thankful to introduce Joseph Wooten.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm happy to be here. I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, so you're famous.
Depends on who you ask.
And we have a lot of people on this show from other countries. You've visited a lot of countries, like me, but for music.
Yes.
For you.
For the most part.
And music, my mom's a musician. I may have or may not have shared that with you.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she majored in classical piano and classical cello.
I like her better already.
Yes. And so I was raised constantly with piano, trumpet, guitar, singing. I was not good at those things like you are. So I sadly disappointed her in my endeavors. But music makes me happy and so many other people happy.
Right.
And we also know that it impacts people's health even.
Right.
And so but the purpose of this is to talk about health and science as well as people's lives and how they got to where they are, because life is tough and it takes a certain kind of personality to just keep going and to make it to where you are. And oftentimes when you see someone famous like you that was in Steve Miller Band, the Wooten Brothers, you have your own label, you do all kinds of things. You also do a lot to help people. A lot of times they'll see people like you and think, well, that journey was easy and he's very fortunate. They don't see the tough part and how you got here.
Right.
So I'd love to start, if you don't mind, with you telling a little bit about yourself and how you got here.
Okay.
And also mentioning one or two things that were hard along the way where you didn't quit and you still were able to get here.
I can do that. I was born into a musical family. I have 4 brothers. And all of my brothers are musicians. When I was 5, let me step back a little bit. My dad fought in the Korean War. And they both grew up in North Carolina, both born in North Carolina in very segregated North Carolina. My dad was born in 1930, my mom in 34. My dad fought in the Korean War. My mom and dad got married. My dad had promised her that he was going to retire after the war was over, and he got out of the war and switched to the Air Force from the Army, which my mother wasn't very happy about. Fortunately, she stayed with him. She had promised him that if he hadn't retired, she was going to leave him. Thank goodness she didn't. And they had 5 boys, kept trying to have girls, kept having boys. Were born in Air Force bases all across the country. So I'm second to the youngest. I'm the 4th of 5. I'm 3 years older than Victor. My older 3 brothers, Rudy, Roy, and Reggie, are 3, 4, and 5 years younger than me. 5 years older than me, I'm sorry. So in the mid-1960s, we moved to Hawaii, Air Force Base in Hawaii. And my 3 older brothers were in elementary school. Well, in Hawaii, the school-issued elementary school instrument is the ukulele and the recorder. And so my brother Rudy, the middle brother, picked up the recorder. He was instantly good. Whatever he heard, he could play it. My middle brother Roy was beating on everything that he saw, and he was instantly good. My oldest brother Reggie took Roy's ukulele and was instantly good. Whatever he heard, he could play it. And for whatever reason, this is really the story that needs to be told, 10-year-old Reggie said to 5-year-old Victor, and 5-year-old me and 2-year-old Victor, if you play this and you play this, we can have a band. And he taught us how to play at the age of 10. I was 5 and Victor was 2. And he taught us well. So we do little concerts in the yard. Reggie's on his ukulele and Victor's playing a little Mickey Mouse guitar and I'm playing a little Schroeder piano. But he taught us well to the point that was probably, Victor's born in 64, so that was in 66. In 1970, we had moved to California in 1968. And by 1970, we were at the big arena just outside of Sacramento, California. We lived in Rancho Cordova, and we were opening for War. We opened for War, Cisco Kid, why can't we be friends? We opened for them and Victor was only 5.
Wow.
Victor had just learned to write his name. I was 8. Older 3 brothers were 11, 12, and 13. So we were taught well. And 2 years later, we were on a little mini tour with Curtis Mayfield, and he was singing all the music from the Superfly soundtrack. And at a very young age, we knew what we were doing with our lives. That worked in our favor, that we had focus early. My parents, especially my mom, made sure that wanted to make sure we were people of substance. So she made sure, one, that we made good grades in school. She recognized that the school system wasn't teaching us very well. So she went and got flashcards, and she made sure that we knew how to read, write, do our basic addition, subtraction, multiplication. She'd have the flashcards, and she'd go, when I put this flashcard up, I need you to be able to tell me the answer just like you can tell me your name. And then she'd say, because you know Christmas is coming. And, if you don't know these flashcards, they weren't waiting on Christmas. And, but she knew how tough it was going to be. I mean, she knew how tough it was for them coming up in a very segregated, tough North Carolina, where they go to school all 12 grades in one room with one teacher. Yeah. That was them. So she made sure that we were equipped to endure whatever it was that we would need to endure. Now, in terms of that part of it, it wasn't easy, but it was comfortable because we were playing, we always had somebody to play with, siblings, our parents were at all the gigs. So that part of it was very comfortable. But now, at the age of 2, in terms of difficulty, at the age of 3, I was told I had got very bad pneumonia. Mm-hmm. And that pneumonia left me with asthma. So asthma has been my challenge. And I spent a lot of my childhood just struggling. And eating the standard American diet, the standard American people from the country diet, cereal every morning, cereal every morning, and biscuits, and you can't have a meal without something sweet to wash it down. So I spent a good deal of time struggling. And as I got older, as my brothers went to college, they found a book called Cooking with Dick Gregory. And Dick Gregory was a social activist comedian who found nutrition as he got older. So there was this nutrition book, and we really got into that. Now, from there, it gave me some ideas of making my health better with diet. So I'm a bit of a self-taught nutritionist, but the way that I've been able to overcome my asthma is with diet and the things that I've learned. So asthma has been my challenge, but it's also been my teacher. Yeah. Because had I not had it, I'm a pretty philosophical guy, and I can hear myself going, the vegan's going to die, the meat eater's going to die. Why would I deny myself the thing that I like to eat the most? But when you can't breathe, when you can't breathe and you find a way to be able to breathe if you make some changes,
right?
It has enabled me with discipline to have a quality of life that I wasn't able to have when I was younger. I mean, I'll be 60 in December. I'm breathing a lot better than I was when I was 50, and certainly when I was 40.
I had asthma.
Did you really?
And people think that because you're a scientist or you're in medicine or clinical or whatever you're doing that you know about nutrition, but I actually went back to Cornell to get certified in nutrition because it was important to me when I have to tell you, I grew up in the country. We had butter, we had and it was really good, right?
Yeah.
But I always tell people you either live to eat or you eat to live,
right? Because
it's so important. And I can't even tell you, I make products and people will say how amazing they are, but one of the things and they'll say it changed their life, but I think it's not just the products. I think that I also talk a lot about eating healthy,
Right.
and cleaning your body,
Right.
and putting the right things in, because you could give someone the best products, pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, I don't care.
Right.
But if their nutrition isn't good, it honestly affects your health so much. People don't realize.
It really does.
It,
There's so much to learn, and I'm constantly learning more. The one that surprised me the most is that oftentimes when you're learning nutrition, you're learning just the content.
yep.
You know, how much protein, how much sodium, how much potassium, how much magnesium, etc. But the thing that helped me the most is when I learned how those foods function in your body.
Yeah.
Because some things that have a high nutrition content are very detrimental to your gut lining.
Absolutely.
And once I learned the correlation between gut lining and breathing, that changed everything. And a lot of the things that I thought I was doing right were very detrimental. And some of the things that I thought were really bad for me weren't as bad as I thought they were. Butter being, like, I'm vegan now, so I don't eat butter. But butter's not.
It's not horrible. Grass-fed butter. It's the microbiome of the stomach. And I was like you, and that's where I was like, I really need to understand more about this, because there's the science part, and then there's the complete ecostructure of the
Yes.
body and what you need to learn. So
That's right.
yeah, I can see how that was a challenge. And
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
No.
especially being a singer.
well, I thought about that when you said singing, and it's interesting because your wife, I am working with her on a project that has to do with how important the air is. And I think when you have asthma, I mean, I ended up in the hospital numerous times.
Me
Could
too.
not breathe.
Me too.
It's the scariest thing. But when you talked about asthma, I thought, I bet his experience was harder than mine, because you're a singer. And
Well,
that's
now,
so
so
important.
here's the thing for me. Asthma is so not scary to me because I've known it my whole life, right? So I know what my body does when I have it. I don't have any fear that I've never had a fear that it's going to be the end of me. It's just a discomfort that I got to get through. But I've spent so much of my life in the hospital as a child that it's not a fear for me anymore. And I don't have it that much anymore. And if I do, I don't have it nearly to the severity
Yeah,
that I
don't
used to
either.
have it.
Yeah.
But I've learned so much. It's been such, thank goodness I had it. Because if I didn't, there'd be no reason for me to not just keep eating like I ate when I was growing up. And one thing that you don't really see old asthmatics.
No.
Because it's so hard on your
Yeah.
on your system. It's a cardiac issue
Yeah.
if you don't figure something out.
Yeah.
While you still have your youth.
Well, like it turns into COPD and
Yes.
different types. But
Yes.
I do want to talk to you about the fact that you overcame that, as well as other things, to be this famous musician that's not just a famous musician, but someone that helps people through. And I know you're. I didn't mean not to laugh.
No, it's okay.
I mean, you are. You're. And honestly, you would never know that from being around you. And I think that's one of the things I always love, people that have worked very hard to achieve things in their life and feel blessed because of it, instead of, I don't know, you're just a very humble person, which is another gift I think you probably have to bring to people. But you have not just been a musician that's made an impact on people, not just started a nonprofit that's impacted people, but also you've been acknowledged and spoken at places like the UN and different environments. And your wife actually shared with me, I think you were out of the room, but about some of the her experiences with you and how you guys were. She was sitting at the table, I think, with the head of the UN and didn't know who that was. And Stephanie, I could see Stephanie because she's like my personality. Just not that we're clueless, but we're like, hello.
So what do you do?
So what do
And
you do?
he
She
said-
shared that, and I love that story. But you were sitting also at a table of very prominent people for a reason that you were invited. It's anytime you're in an environment like that, you have to have something you're offering where they want you there. And the UN, would you share with the audience why you were with the UN and what you guys were doing?
Well, Stephanie always, her clientele is always movers and shakers.
Yeah.
And this particular person was a like billionaire, gazillionaire. And one of the people that he was working with was in charge of getting these people from the UN together. So it wasn't actually at the UN, but it was those people.
Some of the people were there. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, no, it's quite all right. So we were invited. Now I didn't know until later there was facial recognition. So, I'm told that everybody knows that you're a rock star, which always makes me crack up because I don't feel like a rock star. I feel like I work for one, right? I work for Steve Miller, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, Steve Miller. But I was sitting at a table with Carolyn Kennedy and some other people, and the other lady was, I don't remember her name, she was the head of AARP. And I remember she was asking me some questions about the effect of music on cognitive decline, helping cognitive decline. And then I remember Carolyn Kennedy asked a question that I never got a chance to answer. I was raring to answer this question, but somebody else wanted her attention and she got taken away from the table. But she was saying, like, who do you think is like prominent and kind of a light for the world right now, prominent and upcoming? Yeah. And I wanted to answer the question so bad and I never got a chance to. But what I wanted to tell her is that it's not just one person, it's a bunch of us, right? There's a bunch of women who get up and like are selfless and take kids to school and set good examples. And we make a bit of an error. We waste a little bit of our goodness when we wait for the Savior.
That is so true.
Rather than being one, and like who's there's a sea of them, right? Yeah. I was in Buffalo, New York, speaking at schools, and one day it was like it does in Buffalo. It was wintertime, it just snowing up a storm. And there was this guy with his snowblower, and he snowblowed the sidewalk for everybody. He's just a neighbor, snowblowed the sidewalk for everybody. He snowblowed everybody's driveways and walkways because there were a lot of elderly there. Right. And he did that not because it was going to get him applause or somebody was going to bring him a medal. Yeah. There it goes. There's the answer to that question. There's a million of us. But too often we don't value it.
No,
we wait to give all of our value to the person that cut us off. And then we dedicate all the drivers in that city. Just like those Nashville drivers, they'll cut you off. At the expense of all those drivers who did exactly the right thing. Truth of the matter is, most every driver does exactly what they're supposed to. But we give all our attention to the people that don't do the right thing. And that's the error that we make. Yep. Is that we waste goodness giving all of our attention to people that don't do right. Because there's much more people doing right than there are doing wrong. But one advantage that evil has is that it's not evil until they act on it. Like, it's not evil to go, that's not evil.
No.
But, you know what I mean? If I assault you, it becomes evil. Well, goodness is good without action.
That's true. That's very true.
And too often, evil takes advantage of that. We have too many, nowadays we need goodness with action. But we also need to value it.
I love this discussion because I love this discussion because I say this all the time. You have this evil and bad that happens. Like, I even know as a scientist, a lot of people are angry because, technologists like me, right? They blame on different things happening, but they're also part of the solution. What I always tell people, especially recently, with all the things going on in the United States and then everywhere, is we are good people. There's more good people than bad people, but we've got to take action.
Right.
We've got to do things. We can't just sit there. Right, because you're right. Because there's so much goodness, but we've got to step in, and it's not one person.
Right.
It's a lot of people.
Yes, it is. And that's an advantage that music has. And that music, when music does the right thing, it's the end goal without the process. Yeah. Like, if we can have a conversation and there's a chance that the conversation might bring us to mutual understanding. But if I play music and you receive it, it's instant mutual understanding.
Yeah.
Without us having to go through. I can sing a song. I'll show you. So I was talking to a.
I'm gonna have Stephanie help me make sure I have the microphone.
It's okay. They'll be able to hear me. I was
Okay.
talking to I was with a class, and I was telling them how music makes special things out of normal things. Like there was a girl, and I said, "I like your hair." Right? Her name was Abigail. I like your hair. I like your name too, Abigail, as opposed to
I like
Abigail.
that.
So I could say, Abigail, I like your hair, or I could say, Abigail, I like your hair, and I'm so happy that you're there. Abigail, I like your hair, and I'm so happy that you're there. Abigail, I like, etc., etc., etc. With music, we can take the average thing and make it something special. That's what makes it such a powerful tool. But with music, we take what's good and we make use of it. Because music is life as it should be. Music, this is what you make music from, right? But that's a mess with potential.
Right.
But to turn that from a mess to music, we do it by applying intelligence to it. And that's the same thing we should do in life. Too often, though, in life, it's competition. I'm trying to make you wrong. Or trying to make you more like me. And that's not what we do with music. We recognize when we listen to music that it's life as it should be. Everybody recognizes the goodness of music.
Right.
But too often we stop trying to make music. Music is just a path forward for our differences, right? From this clash of differences, we use our intelligence to find a beautiful path forward that we can all enjoy. Too many of us stop trying to do that after we take off the headphones or after we walk away from the instrument. Music is a powerful tool. Science is a powerful tool. The key is to inspire people to want more of it. And we inspire people not so much by telling them things, we inspire them more by them watching how we do it.
Right.
By example. And that's what I'm trying to do.
That is amazing. Okay, that was I loved hearing that. But I have to tell you something I've never said out loud. As a female scientist, I've often been attacked because I make pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals. It can be a threat to powerful industry or people. But I'm like you. It's become a strength because I don't think I would have kept going back to school. I don't think I would have kept doing things. But I get questioned a lot because I will go into a lab and work on a formula. But then when I leave, I give them the same formula. They saw me do it and they can't make it. Mm-hmm. And then I have different patents, trade secrets, and they'll say, well, why is it different when she makes it? So one of the things I do in the lab, because my mother was a musician, I'm an artist, is I will sing and I will hum while I'm doing it. And so I said this to myself. I think that it's the energy, because I use polarization, I use magnets, I use fracking, I use different, but music is a science. It's an art and a science, and it's a beautiful thing. But when I say that, if I said that publicly in front of a bunch of scientists that are nanotechnologists, they would say, I don't believe that. There's got to be something else. And I've said this many times, I don't know why my formulas are different when I make them, but actually in my heart do know why, because I'm taking something that everyone else can do, and I'm turning it into something that's beautiful because I'm using the energy behind humming and music and the words and the sound. And if there's anything that taught me that, it was my beautiful mother.
Those moms.
Yeah, and she would sing to us and hum, and there's energy and there's healing in that. And I want to thank you for what you've done, because you're helping people.
We're all helping people. Yeah, we're helping. You're helping people. I'm helping people. And there's to Carolyn Kennedy's question. There's millions of us doing the right thing. We're not the only ones having this conversation. We're not the only ones that are out there doing right. But what is important for us to do is to recognize and uplift those people that are doing right with the same intensity that we draw our attention to the person that just cut us off. Suddenly that person becomes the subject of the moment.
Instead of the people that are doing
And those 100 people that are driving perfectly, we've ignored them as if, they're driving the way they're supposed to. But they cut you off and suddenly become the theme of the day. How come the person who's doing right isn't the theme of the day? If there is a secret to happiness, it's recognizing the things that are good while you have them.
Right.
We'll all do that eventually. When you realize you've got a week left, the sunrise will become glorious at that point. How come it's not glorious today?
Well, you'll forget the bad things if you have a week left.
That's
You're
my
going
point.
to focus, on the good things.
But if there's a secret to happiness, it's seeing the good, not seeing them because we see them, but recognizing them for what they are. Every sunset is glorious. Every sunrise is glorious. We have a friend that made a point of seeing every sunrise for a year, and it changed their life. Every sunrise and every sunset for a year, it changed their life. We are freedom and goodness spoiled in that we have so much of it, we sort of forget about it.
That's true.
We sort of forget about it. We value our parents once they get sick. When they're here, we're beefing with them.
Or
too
mad.
often.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last thing is life. Here's a statistic that makes you put it into perspective. If you live to be 100 years old, if you're that lucky, that seems like a nice long life. That's 36,525 days. It's just not. If you had $1 for every day you lived to be alive to 100. You couldn't even you couldn't buy a home. You couldn't buy a good car. You know what I mean? And then if you start doing the math, you're going to sleep through a third of that. Now that's 24,000 days, and you're going to waste a good amount of it holding grudges or sitting in traffic or when you're older and you can't move around. The sweet spot of life is short.
Yeah.
So get up and see some sunsets. Let people know how you feel about them. Appreciate it when people feel good about you. Examine the beauty of a butterfly. Let your significant other know why they're special to you. You know what I mean?
That's really great.
It really is. I mean, I know, like with Stephanie, I know all the little details of why she likes me over other people, and she knows all the little details of why I like her over other people, that is priceless. If the bottom all falls out tomorrow, I know all the little details of why she likes me over other people, and I'll be able to endure whatever it is because some people live lives alone.
Oh yeah, and you love people not just because of these wonderful things. I say this a lot. You love them despite, like if you really look at the people you love that you choose to be with, you chose Stephanie, for example, your children, for example, your parents, they have these flaws, right? We all have these flaws, but it's what makes us so beautiful. And it's if we could just understand that it's not, we don't just love someone because of what they do for us or all the,
right.
But we love them because despite anything that they are, it's the little intricacies, right, that are important.
But again, goodness needs recognition.
Yeah.
And it needs to be put into action. It's good to have respect for somebody, but respect is ineffective until you show respect for somebody. To have it, but you still walk in front of your girlfriend before you go through the door, you respect her, but the fact that you didn't show respect makes it ineffective. It's time, especially these days, it's time for goodness to be followed with actions, and then we'll be better.
This is scientifically beautiful, and we are talking about tough subjects. You did an amazing discussion because you actually helped me realize what was important and what I need to focus on. And I hope that you guys learn from this and can take this along your journey. Life is beautiful. Science is beautiful. This is scientifically beautiful. And I will see you guys next time on the next episode. And then I have to get off right now because I have to try to beg them to be on another episode at some point. Thanks, everyone. Talk to everyone soon.